Welcome back to Just Scribble. Today we are going to decide what planner I'm going to be using for work for 2026. At least the planner that I'm going to be using for about the first 2 or 3 months. I do have a new product coming to the shop the first quarter of 2026, and I will be moving into that actually for my work planner when that arrives. So this is really only going to be my planner for about 3 months, but I do want to make sure that it is the right fit and something that I would have or could use for the entire year for my work planner. So before we get into the planners that we're going to check out and decide between, I just wanted to kind of recap my 2025 work planner setup and discuss a little bit about the changes that I'm going to be making. So for my work planner, this is for my full-time job, not Shop Just Scribble or YouTube or anything like that. This is for my full-time career. I have been in, since I got it, my Rotorfaden Tasche Begleiter, and I absolutely love this for work. It really has helped me kind of solidify what I need for work, and I have changed up my work planner system since I've been using this, and I'm really liking the direction that that's going. But I will say for 2025, I didn't really maximize this as much as I should have or could have for 2025. And so I do plan on modifying how I'm going to be using this for 2026 to make it an even better system for me for work. So in here, and I can't show you really much of anything due to confidentiality and things like that. In here, I do have the 2025 planner that I ended up using for work. I wasn't in this the entire year. The A5 Slim Jibun, and this is the planner that I ended up in, not the planner I started in. I used several different planners for work, trying to kind of find out what the best system was for me, what would work the best for me, and kind of really what I needed as my role and projects I have and things like that have solidified a little bit. And so really the only thing that's in here besides papers and notes and some schedules is this planner. But for 2026, this is going to have my planner, and then it's going to have a project planner and then another insert as well. And so it's going to be more of a system, whereas right now it's more of a cover for my planner. So I will be using the Rotorfaden as a system more in 2026 than I did in 2025. In 2025, I was just kind of finding my way and figuring out exactly what I needed. And so what I ended up in was the A5 Slim from Jibun, and I did like it. I did like it quite a bit. It was not perfect, and so I do have a couple other things to check out as well. I didn't use a lot of these front pages because they don't really have a lot of purpose for me in a work planner. And then I wasn't in it the full year, so I didn't use all of the monthlies or all of the weeklies. But the weekly planner did work for me really well. And I do use this in conjunction with a notebook from my shop, one of my Scribbles notebooks, and the combination of the two has worked really, really well for me. And so I think in 2026, with the addition of the project planner and the other insert, as well as the planner, especially when my new product comes, and then my notebook, I think I'm going to have a really good system for 2026 that I will be able to use through the entire year. And it will really help me be organized, manage my people, manage my tasks, all of the things. So I have been using this cover and absolutely loving it, but I will be using it more in 2026, or really making it better for me and really using it as a system, how it was kind of more intended than just being a notebook cover or a planner cover. So that's what I've been using for 2026. I apologize that I can't really show you my work planner. I will do a work planner actual setup video where I show you guys how I have my planner set up for the year once I get it set up, but then I can't show you really anything just because of confidentiality. So I apologize for that. I will do my best though in that setup video to show you guys how everything's going to be used so you guys can get ideas as well. But this video is not the setup video, it's the decision video. I have here 4 different planners that I bought as potential work planners for 2026. And these are the 4 that we're going to check out, and then I'm going to decide between the 4. I will probably list the other 3 for sale in my shop. I'm not 100% sure, but most likely I will list the other 3 for sale so that they can find a home and they can get some use rather than just collecting dust on my shelf. But like I said, I will only be in this planner for a couple of months because I do have a new product coming, but I have to have a planner until then. And so I wanted to check these out, share them with you guys, and make a decision. So the first thing I have here is a planner from Inamio, I'm not really sure how you say this, but I did purchase this on Amazon, the 2025/2026 planner. This is their mini planner, and it is a 12-month planner that's an academic planner. So it started, the monthlies started in June of 2025, and then they go through July of 2026. This is a hardbound planner, and it does have a pen loop. It does have an elastic strap. If I decide to go with this, I won't actually use this yet, and I will wait and set this up when my new product comes in, and instead I will have this with the other pieces that we're going to kind of go in here, because this isn't going to work inside my rotor Faden cover. So we're going to flip through each one of these planners. I'm going to talk to you about what I like about them and what I don't like about them, but the first one up is this one. The second one is a Kinbor planner. I have bought Kinbor planners before. I do have a video on my channel, so I'll try to link that in the cards up above. I really like their planners. I like the Bushwan paper. They're inexpensive. You can buy them on AliExpress. It does come with a little pamphlet that gives you examples of the different spreads and how you could use them. It says 2026. I will probably keep this even if I sell the planner, because I want this for a planner. I'm going to use this as deco, I think. This is their time management planner for 2026. It is A5 size. These are all A5 size planners. So that's the second option. The third one, I took it out of the packaging already, but this is the A5 Weekly Vertical Diary from Marks Inc. And I bought this on Amazon as well. I don't remember if I bought this on Amazon US or Amazon Japan. It is a Japanese planner, but it comes in this clear cover that has a zipper pocket, and then your planner is inside there. It does have like actual thumb tabs. See there, and we're going to check it out in a minute, but this is the colors, and this is a 2025-2026 18-month planner ish, I guess. So it started in September of 2025 and it goes to December of 2026. And then the last one is the Kikuyu Jibun Techo in the A5 slim size, and this is the Biz. And this is what I was using for, I guess, the second half-ish of 2025. So it does have a little pamphlet that shows you about the layout. And it also comes in a clear cover. Let me take this off. Or not a clear cover, but like a plastic cover. So it does come in a little cover, and then you can take the book out as well. So those are the four that I'm looking at, and we're going to go through them and check out the layouts, and then I'm going to decide which one that we're going to use, or that I'm going to use. Let me set those aside. So the Inamio, I'm not really sure how you say it, is, like I said, a planner off of Amazon. They have a couple of different planners. These are actually really great planners. I know another YouTuber that uses this for her work planner. Not this one, a different version that they have, but they are really nice and expensive planners. And so I thought it would be a good one to check out. So when you open it up, you have your in papers, and then you have the first page that's attached to your in papers that just has the years. And then the first main spread is your yearly overview. So you have 2025 over here, 2026 and 2027. It's a Monday start planner, and the weekends have colored shading. When you turn the page, you have your Calendex page. Saturday and Sunday are shaded in green. And then you go into the monthlies. All the monthlies are at the front, and then the weeklies are after the monthlies. So it is not bundled like my planners from my shop. This is the monthly spread. So Monday through Friday, as you can see there, have this kind of purple shading, and Saturday and Sunday have orange shading. It's a nice, big, clean monthly spread, which I absolutely love. It does have the pre-dates, so the dates from the previous month on each monthly spread, but it doesn't have the post dates. So for example, here on July the 31st is Thursday, so it doesn't have 1, 2, 3 of August on that week, but it does have the 30th of June on the first week. Everything is really easy to read. It is gridded on the monthlies, so you actually can write straight, which is amazing and awesome. It has a sidebar. It's just a really clean, functional layout, which is one of the things that I really liked about this. It is not bundled. One of the things I don't like about this, because you guys know I much prefer a bundled planner because it is more efficient than you're living in the time period that you're in. If you're focused on the month that you're in, you can still flip to the other months that you need to get to, but you don't have to flip back and forth between your planner so much to get between the current month and the current week, for example. So it goes through all the monthlies. Like I said, it went from June to July, so it's 2025 to 2026, like an academic planner. And then you get to your weeklies. Again, the Monday through Friday have purple shading at the top, and then Saturday and Sunday are orange. It does have a little miniature calendar. It does have the week number, and then it has a vertical spread. It is a military or 24-hour clock. The first 6 hours are real tight up here in a way that you could use these instead of using these as actual time slots. You could use these for your top 6 tasks that you had for the day. It has a sidebar and then a section at the bottom that doesn't have any timeline where you could write additional things. It does have the colored thumb tabbing in it so that you can navigate through the different months in the planner, and they are different colors. They kind of go in an order. And so it has all of your weekly spreads. It is a thicker paper. I don't remember the GSM on this paper, but I will look it up because I don't think it's on here. Let's see. It is not. I'll look it up, and if it says, I will share with you guys. I'm guessing 120, 100, 120, something like that, but I could be wrong, so I will put it down below if I can find it. So you go through all of your weekly spreads. Then you have a calendex for the second half of 2026 and the first half of 2027, so you can do future planning. And then it has some note pages in the back. It does have about 40 grid pages in the back. It does have little ribbons, which I hate. So if I used this, I would cut them out. And it has a back pocket, which I don't really have a need for. So the things I like about this planner is I actually really love the monthly spread because it's really big, easy to see. It has a lot of functional space. I actually don't mind the colors that are in this because the colors are softer, I guess, and they're not so harsh as like a planner like the Hobonichi Cousin that has a lot of red in it. And I don't mind the distinction between the weekdays and the weekends because I don't use the weekends for my work planner because I don't work on the weekends. I don't like the little monthly here. I don't like monthlies on any of my pages. I don't need to be able to see this. I always know which week and which month that I'm in, and I would rather have this for functional space. Generally, I do add a little bit of deco to my planner pages, even in my work planner, because it dictates what highlighter color I use for the week. And so I will usually put deco over these because it's not wasting functional space to do so. And then that deco will dictate what kind of color of highlighter that I'm using. I like the font, that it's very, very clean. The grid is easy to see. I don't like a military timeline or a 24-hour clock. I much prefer a 12-hour clock. I actually like the fact that it has the 0, 1 through 6 up at the top because I would probably use those for tasks for the day or high-level events for the day, something like that. And I like that it does have a little bit of notes pages in the back, but it doesn't have that many because I don't need them in my work planner because I do pair my work planner with a notebook because I have found that that's actually much more efficient for me. It allows me to have notebooks on different topics if I need, and it also allows me to lose the stress that I always had on whether or not I was going to run out of pages. I would fear writing a lot of times in my planners that had a lot of blank pages in them because I would be afraid they wouldn't have enough pages and then I wouldn't be using it to its fullest. And oftentimes it wouldn't have enough pages and then I would have most everything in the planner and then I'd have to add a second notebook to it. So I much prefer having it separate. I also refer back to my notes or my notebooks more often, and so having them separate makes it a little bit easier for me to do that. And then the last reason that I prefer to have them separate is that if I don't finish the notebook, I can just continue through the next year because generally speaking, the projects and things like that, they continue year over year. They don't necessarily stop on 12/31. And so that notebook can continue to be used. And then I just have, a stack of notebooks to refer to. So that is the Inamio planner and kind of an overview of how it's set up and my thoughts. Next, we have the Kinbor. This is not my first time to use a Kinbor. This is not my first time actually to buy this Kinbor. And I don't remember if I've shared this particular one before, but if I did, it will be in that link that I put in the cards up above, or you can search my channel. But I really do like the Kinbors. I like the Bosch One paper. It is very similar to Tomoe River paper, so it is quite thin, which I really like. but it generally holds up to pretty much everything I've thrown on it. I've even watercolored in it, and I've really liked it. It does come in a couple of different cover color options. I picked the pink one because it was kind of nondescript, and I figured if I wanted to, I could just put stickers on it. When you open it up, it does have end papers that are sort of holographic. I actually like those a lot because you guys know I love holo, but there's no real need for that for my work planner. I just think holo is pretty. When you turn the page, you have your first page that's attached to the end papers that just says Manage Time, Control Life. It tells you that it's the 2026 Techo, Manage Time and Control Life, Kinbor. When you turn the page, you have your annual overview. So you have 2025 and 2027 over here, and then you have 2026 over here. Down here, I believe these are Chinese holidays, and so it only comes about 3/4 of the page down. I guess 2/3 of the page down. I do like how large this is over here. I didn't mention this in the other one, but I never need last year's calendar. I never look at it. Not once have I ever referred back to it. I don't generally need next year's calendar in this way. I want to be able to write things down that get scheduled for future planning. And so I probably wouldn't use this page at all. I'm less likely to use this page in this planner for anything because it doesn't actually have Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday written out in English or in letters. It's in Chinese. I do, of course, know what it is. I know that this is Monday and this is Sunday. But if I decided that I wanted to use this to mark like vacation days and holidays and things like that with a dot marker, I'd probably use a sticker kit to kind of cover this up just so that it would be a little bit easier for me to see at a glance. But these aren't pages I rely on heavily in my work planner, so I'm a little indifferent to that personally. Then you go into the Calendex pages. One of the things I really like about the Calendex pages in this particular planner is that they are 2 months per page, so they're extra wide. The reason I like that is if I wanted to use this for tracking like my continued education, I have more space than I would in a different Calendex to write things, or if I wanted to use it again for holidays, anniversaries of my employees and their birthdays, I have enough space to write that information. If I had 2 people with something on the same day, I would have enough space to write that. It does have a section at the top and a section at the bottom as well, which you could use for goals or common tasks you have for the month or projects you have due that month, things like that. So you have the whole year, and then you go into the monthlies. Again, in this planner, all of your monthlies are at the front, then you have all your weeklies, and then you have all of your notes pages. I would prefer it to be bundled, but that's not as easy to find in planners, which is one of the reasons that I started creating planners. So it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it definitely makes for less efficient planning for me, especially in my work planner. So the monthly spread is, again, a Monday start. These are all Monday start planners. That is my preferred start in a planner. Again, this monthly is really, really nice because the boxes are really, really big. I find it very easy to read. I'm not a huge fan of the red. It does detract a little bit for me, but it's not going to be a deal breaker in my work planner because I'm generally scheduling Monday through Friday. And so I don't generally have a lot of things to write down on these 2 columns. It has a nice sidebar. It does have the week numbers indicated. It has these little calendars on here. I don't need them, but I just generally ignore them. The one thing I don't like is that the Chinese holidays are red, so the dates, even though they're on Monday, Tuesday, and Monday in this instance, and then of course Thursday for New Year's, they are in red. I do find that a little bit distracting. Like when I look at the page, my eye jumps there versus what else is on the page, but it's not a complete deal breaker because I've kind of gotten accustomed to it using different Chinese and Japanese planners. So you go through the whole year. I do love that they actually wrote Monday through Sunday on there at the top, and it's nice and big. I like that the month is really, really big and the month number as well. So I like that it's easy to read. The grid's not quite as dark, but it is dark enough that I can actually see it. So I appreciate that. I think this is the first week. Okay. And that after December of 2026, you'd have a Plan a New Year page where you have the 12 months at the bottom and then a grid at the top. I actually like this spread a lot. I don't know that this is 100% the exact layout that I would like, but I like the idea of having 12 monthly boxes on a 2-page spread like this, where it's just grid space, because I can use it to write down things that I know are occurring in those months. So I have kind of a master task list, so to speak, and it just gives me a really good reference place to keep track of things that I don't want to forget I have to do each month. After that, you go into the weekly spreads. The weekly spread is very reminiscent, in my opinion, of the Jibun, and you're going to see that shortly. It is set up very much like that. I find that the Kinbor planners are kind of a marriage between Hobonichi planners and the Jibun. It's like they kind of copied those two planners and interspersed aspects of them in their planners. And this particular spread very much to me is reminiscent of the Jibun Techo. So you do have a monthly calendar up here, which I don't really care for, so I would probably cover it with deco. You have a sidebar. You have Saturday and Sunday columns, which I don't really need. Again, Sunday is in red, and then the date of the holiday is in red. I wish that these were in gray, but not a deal breaker. At the top, you do have your timeline. So it does have 1 through 5, so the first 5 hours of the day. But again, just like the planner we just looked at, they're kind of stacked together. So you could use these for your top 5. So you could use these for your top 5 things of the day. It does have these little reminders to drink water and hydrate. It does have a darker line kind of at lunchtime, and then it has a darker line here where I presume would be kind of like your end of the day, because that is 6 o'clock. I actually like that because although sometimes I have work after 6 o'clock, I don't have meetings and things scheduled after that time. And so my work day does technically end there. And so that line is already there, which helps me when putting my time blocked schedule in there, because I don't have to think about counting quite as much with the 24-hour clock. It is a 24-hour clock, and then of course it has the time in the evening. They are shaded because it's your after work hours. I'm indifferent on that because I really wouldn't be referring to those. And then you have a section at the bottom that doesn't have anything. Overall, I do like this weekly spread. I think it has a lot of space to write, but it is busy. The amount of dark shading in certain spots I find a little bit distracting, and all of the circles and the drinking water reminders and things like that. The health check marks, the weather check marks. I don't need those things in my work planner, and I don't generally like them in my personal planner either. So it's a little bit busy to me, and I would prefer a cleaner layout. And then you go through all of your weeks. Again, it does have shading for the months, so it's easy to navigate or to lay tabs. At the back, you do have grid pages. In this instance, they are page numbered. So the first page numbering is the first grid page, and your grid pages go to page 64. So you have a few more grid pages in this than you do in the Inamio, however you say it. And then you have an ideal schedule page, you have a gift list page, you have a 21-day plan page, you have a favorites page, well actually 4 favorites pages. Then you have some eye exercises, an encyclopedia, you have a map of China, a world map, some recipes, and like seasonal planting type things, and then a place for your personal information. Some back pages similar to what Hobonichi has in their planners, because again, I feel like they kind of took Hobonichi and Jibun and kind of married them together in their planners. I don't need most of these pages. I could probably find a use for some of these. I could put my ideal work schedule here, but it's really kind of straightforward, so I don't know that I would need that. I don't really need a gift list for work, so I would probably change these headers, and I could use this for something. I don't know what I would use the 21-day plan for, but again, I could probably use it for something for work. I could use this checklist for something other than a favorites list, and then these pages would just kind of be a waste. I probably wouldn't use them. I would either cut them out, glue them, or just ignore them. It does, again, have little page markers, which I would cut out. So that is the Kinbor Weekly Scheduler Planner. And then this is the Marks Ink Planner. Again, it comes in this clear plastic cover with a zipper pouch. So it has a full zipper pouch there. If I use this planner, I would probably not use the cover. I'd probably take it out like this. I'd probably recover this with vinyl. I've done that before. I will link in the cards up above how I've done it because I have a video, like a tutorial. But I would probably use it like this because it would fit in my rotor fodden better. And I don't really need this pocket in the front. I don't need those card pockets, all of that kind of stuff. But I do appreciate that it comes with this because I know for some people they really, really like having the clear cover. So this is the planner without, its cover on it. It does, again, there's two. I don't know where the other one went. Somewhere in here. There it is. It does, again, have page markers, which I would cut out because I don't like them. So when you open it up, you have your end papers, and then you have that first page that's attached to the end papers. It says 2026 Agenda, International Edition, and then it says September 2025 to December 2026. When you turn the page, you have a personal data page, a place for your name and your address, your car information, your business information, your medical information, and your case of emergency information. I don't like this. I wouldn't use this. I wouldn't put any of this in here. So I would either cover this with a sticker or glue these pages together. When you turn the page, you have your annual overview. You have 2025 here, 2026 here, 2027 here, 2028 here. This is overkill to me. I don't have any need to see most of these calendars, particularly 2028, especially in a work situation because we are digital. We do have computers and we're on them all the time. If I need to look up future dates, I'm generally doing that in my computer, not in my paper-bound planner. And when I am looking up dates in my paper-bound planner is during meetings, and it's always related to the current year and things that are in the actual monthlies of the current year. So I rarely have a need for these spreads in my work planner. One thing I find interesting about this is that your 2026 is shaded. So it does draw attention to the fact that this is your current year, your full year that this planner is in. But I also find it a little bit different because when you go to dot it or something like that, it would mute it a little bit because it's gray. But I like the fact that you can at least see which year it is really clearly, since they didn't dedicate an entire page to it, and instead they did the same size space for each of the 4 years. When you turn the page, you go into your Calendex. It's a really clean Calendex that's slightly different than a lot of other ones because it does have your date here, and then your days are in the column that relate to that particular month. So February ends here because there's no 29th, 30th, or 31st in February in 2026 because it's not a leap year, and there's never a 30th or 31st. And so it has the days of the week, and your Sundays are all this sort of orangey red color. Everything else is gray. It has a space at the top, really clean, easy to read monthly across, and it has your whole year plan for 2026. It does not have your year plan for the 6 months previous to that, the September through December that are included in this planner. So I found that kind of interesting. It's not 6 months. It's not an 18-month planner. It's a 16-month planner. It's 4 months, September, October, November, December. But it doesn't have the 2025 yearly plan in here, which to me is fine because I wasn't using this in 2025. I just wanted to point that out. I really like aesthetically this page. I think it's really clean and easy to read. I don't know 100% what I would use it for work because the spaces are a little bit small, but I do like the way that it looks. When you turn the page, you go to the monthlies. One thing that's different about this planner than the previous two that I showed you is this one is actually bundled. And so you have the months and the weeks of that month together, which is something that made me really intrigued about this planner and made me want to pick it up because it's not as common to find, especially in Japanese and Chinese planners. It's common to find in a store planner, like a Blue Sky planner, the ring bound ones. It's often bundled and you have like the tabs that kind of stick out, or like a Happy Planner, things like that. But in a bound book planner, it's less common to find. So this is the monthly. This is, of course, September of 2025, which is already passed. The one thing that I love about this spread is that it is just beautifully easy to read. The font is really, really clean. Everything is bold. I don't care for these monthly calendars at the bottom, but I never do. It's a little different because your sidebar on the monthly is on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side, which is what I'm used to. So sometimes that does throw me off. I generally do better if this is on the right-hand side because most planners I use are like that. And I naturally expect this first column to be my sidebar. The other problem that I have with this monthly spread is that it's not lined. So it is truly just blank space. And I oftentimes have trouble writing straight. So the only thing that really bothers me about this monthly, besides this down here, which isn't really a deal breaker, I would just ignore them, is that there's no lines on this monthly spread. But that is kind of offset by the fact that it is bundled, which I really do like. When you turn the page, you go into the weekly spread. One of the things I really love about this planner is this weekly spread because, again, this is my work planner and I work Monday through Friday. I don't need the Saturday and Sunday. And because of the way that this is designed with the weekends stacked like this, but not making the columns wider, is that it still provided a really large kind of sidebar area that's larger than the other planners. So if you compare it to, you know, a Hobonichi or my vertical planner, Sterling Ink, etc., this is kind of more the normal size of your sidebar, and instead you get quite a bit more space in your sidebar area. So for the weekdays, Monday through Friday, you have a space at the top where you can write important things for the day. So if it's someone's birthday, a holiday, you have some big deadline that day, then you have your timeline, again, in a 24-hour clock, which is not my preference, but a lot of planners are in a 24-hour clock. You do have half-hour increments, which I really, really like. I don't know, I don't think I mentioned that in these. So these also have half-hour increments, but in the Kinbor, it's hard to tell what hour you're in because some of the hours don't say the hour because they have a water reminder. So it's 8, water reminder is 9, and then 10. So it still has the half-hour increments, which I need for work, but they're kind of blurred by the fact that you have that water tracker. And then in this one, you also have the half-hour increments, which is something that I need for work. So it does have the half-hour increments. It starts at 8 a.m., although sometimes I am at work before 8 a.m. We never have meetings scheduled prior to that, so I don't really need it to be an earlier time than this. I don't need it to go past 6 o'clock in the evening, but it's okay that it does. Then it has a blank space at the bottom where you could put your to-do list or something like that. The one thing I don't like is that this is not lined or grid or something like that to help me write straight. I don't mind this not having lines because generally I'm writing one big thing, but if I was making a list, I would much prefer this have lines or a dot grid like the sidebar does. And then Saturday and Sunday are stacked. It still has a timeline on it, but there are no half-hour increments, and you could very easily use a dot marker to dot over these and make this like task lists for the week. And then it has a dot grid sidebar that's sort of divided into 3 distinct sections. It has the mini calendars at the bottom that I don't like, that I think take up functional space. And then it does indicate the month with the number and also spelled out the year and then the week number. So it goes through all of the weeks of that month. And then on the last week of that month, where it has days that relate to the next month. So this is the last week of September 2025, and these are the first 4 days of October. Those are shaded gray. That is one thing I don't like about this planner. I know why they did it, because they duplicated weeks in their bundled planner. This particular week is also the first week in the October monthly section because it has October days and it has September days. That is something that really bothers me and really annoys me and makes zero sense to me. I don't know why anyone would make a bundled planner where they were duplicating weeks within the planner. No one is going to plan just for these 2 days and then want to go over to here to plan for the other 4 days. You're going to want to use one spread or the other, and there's no reason to that, and there's no reason to duplicate them. The standard process is whichever month has more of the days of that week, so has 4 or more days, that's the month that the week goes into. So this particular week had more October days, in this instance 5 days, and so there were 4 or more October days than September days. So this particular week should have been here instead of here. And instead they did it in both places, and they shaded the days related to the other month, which means that if I was to use this for work, I'd have to pick which one I was going to use, and then half of the days of that work week would be shaded, which annoys me a little bit. So that is definitely a drawback to this planner. You go into the next month, then the weeks of that month. But again, anytime that there's going to be a week, which is almost every single month, November of 2025 was an exception. It ended on a Sunday. So December started on a Monday, so you didn't have that. But in almost every single month, you have at least one day from the next month in it. And so in almost every month, you have these duplicated weekly pages. So that is one definite negative to this planner. It does have holidays in here, but it doesn't really tell, or I think these are supposed to be holidays. They have little country codes on them, but it doesn't tell you what they are. So I know this is a US holiday and it says US, but it doesn't say what holiday it is. And so I'm not really sure why they used that as the designation, but it's really, really small. It would be really easy to cover up or white out. It is a white paper, and more of a bright white paper, whereas in the Inamio, however you say it, it is a cream paper. I much prefer white paper to cream paper, but I don't care if it's bright white. I just prefer white. And then the Kinbor is a creamier white paper. So between the three of these, you'll see that this is creamier than this one, which is creamier than this bright white one here. So you go through all the months of the year. At the end, you have some grid pages, about 30 grid pages. It's a really big grid. I can't tell 100%. It's bigger than a 4mm grid. I'm guessing it's a 5, maybe a 6. It's a really big grid, and it's really dark. So I'm not a fan of quite how dark this is, but I also don't know what exactly I would use these for, and so I don't know that it would be really a problem. Then you have a world time chart. I think that that's nice. I probably wouldn't use it because I have our world clocks set on my phone when I need to talk to someone in one of my other departments overseas, but that is a nice feature. Then you have a grid page at the back and then the end papers at the back. So that's the Marks ink. And lastly, we have the Jibun. And this is what I was using towards the end of the year. So the Jibun, again, is in a clear cover. I did keep it in the clear cover for 2025. I probably would not for 2026. If you take it off, it looks like this. So it's still a finished book. It does say 2026 on it. When you open it up, it has the end papers, which are yellow. When you turn the page, you have that first page that's connected to the end papers. It just says 2026, and it has a place for your name. Then it has instructions on how to use your planner, which I wouldn't use. It has example spread, which I wouldn't use. Then it has your yearly overview, 2026 on this side, nice, big and large, 2025 and 2027. Again, it doesn't tell you that this is Monday and this is Sunday. I know that it is, but it doesn't tell you that. Then you go into the Calendex page. It has 1 through 31 down the side. It does tell you the Monday through Sunday, like what day of the week it is, but it's not in English, so it wouldn't be helpful to me. I would just be going based off of the date. And it's 2 columns deep, a little more functional when it's a wider box, if it's this narrow of a column, but I don't know 100% what I would use this spread for in particular. The one thing I don't like is all of the color on it. I find it distracting. Then you have an age chart. I don't need that for work. You have a My Dream chart for 2026. I don't need that for work. You have this money plan chart that has the 12 months across the top, and then like a total section here. I would probably repurpose this. I just don't 100% know how. I didn't do that for 2025. You have a map of Japan, which I don't need. You have your weekly plan for like your ideal work week. I don't really need this in my planner, but I could probably use it. But I could probably use it for testing out box stickers, things like that if I wanted. You have a wish list section. Similar to the Kinbor, I would probably just repurpose this for checklists of some other sort for work. You have a favorite phrases section. I'd probably repurpose this for something or just use it to make notes. A recommendations list. Again, I would repurpose that for something else. A book list. I would have to repurpose that or ignore it. The same thing with the movie list. The same thing with the gifts received and given. Same thing with the promise list. And then this list. And then you go into your trackers. So there's a lot of pages in here that I wouldn't use and I don't really need for work. I would have to find a purpose for them or just ignore them. I don't need a habit tracker in this type format for work, and so I probably would ignore this, but you do have your habit trackers. It's 2 months over each spread. I do appreciate how big the font is, so it's easy to read the date. And then you go into your monthlies. Again, this is not bundled. So you have your months up front, and then you have your weeks after that. Your month is a really clean layout as far as the size of the font. It's easy to read the month that you're in, the day of the week, and the date. It doesn't have your post dates in it, but it does have your pre-dates, just like with the Kinbor. It does have a sidebar, and the sidebar actually has a checklist on it. I actually like that feature because I don't have to draw on a checklist myself or put like a colored dot marker there. Saturday is blue and Sunday is red. I don't really like that, but it is something that's common in Japanese planners, so it's something I've kind of gotten used to. There are little faces. You could track your mood. I don't need that, and it kind of takes up functional space for me. But I can see how people might like that if this was their personal planner. I do think that Jibun is a great planner, and I think it's a really good option for kind of an all-in-one planner. Obviously, I like my planners, and I think they're great all-in-one planners as well. But this does have, you know, all your collections and the ability to track your mood and your favorites and all of the things in it. So it is a good planner for that. It has the months down there, which I don't really care for, but as we've noticed in all of these planners, they all have it. So there's that. It does have shaded markings for each month in the monthlies and then also in the weeklies to help you navigate and or lay tabs. So you go through all of your months. Again, holidays are in red, but they're not our holidays in the US. So I don't really like that personally, but I get why they have them there. It seems to be something that culturally they like because it's in most of their planners. So this, and then you go into the weekly spread. It did start in November. I didn't start using it in November because I was in my 2025 planner, but you have a miniature monthly up here. It's very small. Still don't really like it, but it is very tiny. Then you have a sidebar with those checklists again, which I do appreciate. And then you have the weekly layout, which I said is very similar to what Kinbor did. I almost dropped all these planners. So if you look at the Kinbor weekly, you're going to see that these are very, very similar. The Kinbor planner is definitely a dupe of this, but it is A5 size versus A5 slim. So the columns are wider, and there are some other differences, but they are very similar to each other. So you have a little space at the top with your weather. I don't need that, but you do have a space where you could write like big events for the day. Then you have the first 5 or 6 hours of the day lined up similar to those other planners. So you could use this for top priorities of the day. Then you have your sort of workday hours that aren't shaded, and then your sort of evening hours are shaded. And then you have a place for lists down below. There is a place for like your morning routine, your evening routine, and again, to rate your mood. And I don't know if this is like for your top thing for the day or highlight of the day, something like that. Again, some of these features make a really good everything planner or personal planner or health and wellness planner for people. It's not things I necessarily like pre-printed on my planner, but I know some people do like it and appreciate it. Your Saturday is blue and your Sunday is red. Very similar to what I showed in the Kinbor planner because again, it's kind of copied off of this. But that is your weekly spread. Again, very busy to me. I do appreciate that it's easy to read the dates and the days of the week. And I do appreciate in this instance, there's no water cups that are blocking the hours, and there are half-hour increments, which is very important to me for work. So that is the weekly, and you go through the whole year like that. Whoops, too far. And it goes through, I guess, like the second week of January. And then you have some grid pages in the back. This one has the least amount of grid pages in the back. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have a looking back spread for the 12 months. So you can do highlights, something like that. And then you have your personal information sheet, contacts, those types of things. And then the back of the book and then the end papers. So those are the 4 planners that I bought as my options for my 2026 work planner. Again, this is not going to be my work planner for the full year. I will be changing up my work planner and kind of rehauling it when my new product arrives in the shop, but I do need something to hold me over in the meantime. And so these are the planners that I'm deciding between. So having gone through all of them, because this is actually the first time I've flipped through them all completely and all together, I mostly just checked them out online when I was deciding what to order and hadn't really done full comparisons of them. I used this one part of 2025. I have bought this one before. These 2 are new to me. But having gone through all of them, I don't think I'm going to use the Jibun for 2026. I did use it for 2025. It worked just fine. But I don't like how busy this spread is. It does really take away from my work planner setup. So this planner is out and this one is out because these are basically the same planner, just one is wider. I do think that the Kinbor is a little less busy when you look at the spreads. So if I went, let's pick the same exact week. This is, let's move those little guys. This is Kinbor and this is the Jibun. I find, maybe it's because of the page size, I find the Kinbor to be a little less busy, even though they both have the things that make them busy, the little symbols and the shading and things like that. I find the Kinbor to be a little less busy. Part of it, I think, is because only the top of the weekends are shaded and not the entire column. But both of these are going to be out. I'm not going to be using these for 2026. I'll probably end up selling these in the shop just so that they can find a new home and they don't collect dust on my shelf. But those two are out. So it's really between these two. So it's between using this planner here and the monthlies. Really the only difference in the monthlies for me for work on these is that this has lines to draw things straight and write things straight, and this one does not. Aesthetically, I think this is absolutely beautiful, but if it had lines, it would be, oh, chef's kiss. But the fact that this has grid makes this monthly spread kind of win over this one. But they're both really nice, kind of big spreads. And this one has the bundling, which makes this one better over this one. So I feel like the gridded space on the monthly here and the bundled here make these two a tie for me. So it really comes down to the weekly spread. And, oh, this is a really hard decision. I actually really like this weekly spread a lot. It's actually very reminiscent of something that I had previously designed. And so this is something that feels really good to me. So I do really like this weekly spread a lot. There's things I don't like. I wish this was lined. I wish this wasn't here. But I really like this weekly spread a lot. I also like this weekly spread. I think that it's really easy on the eyes. I think that it's very functional. I kind of like the shading, oddly. I think that it's pretty. It'd be a great planner to use with no deco because it already has a little bit of color. I think it's really, really nice. I do really like these monthlies a lot just because they're very clean and easy to write on. But I also really enjoy this. Let's see. Oh, decisions are so hard. You know, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with the Marks Ink. The bundled planner layout is really my thing. I do love the bundling. I do know this is going to annoy me a little bit, the duplicated weeks, but it's only going to be a problem for a little bit because I'm not going to be in this for very long. And in some of those instances, it's not going to be a big deal. So for example, this particular week in February, it's just one day, whereas over here it's unshaded. So I will just ignore this page and I would use this spread. Likewise, this particular week, which is the first week of February, last week of January, it's one day. So that's not really going to be a problem. And the weeks where it is really going to be a problem are either the weeks that were in 2025, which I'm not using because I didn't use this planner then, or the weeks that are after I move out of this planner and into the one from my shop. But I do really love the fact that it's bundled a lot. That makes a really big difference for me. I do like the paper a lot. It feels really, really nice. I don't like that this isn't lined, but I think I can get over that. And I do really like this weekly spread, and I think it would be a good spread to kind of get used to and to play in. So I'm going to go with this one. So this is going to be my planner for work for 2026. This one will most likely go up for sale in my shop, along with the Jibun and the Kinbor. And, oh, I'm going to drop everything. Everything is balanced precariously. But I'm going to set up this one. Again, I'm not going to put it in that cover. I'm going to keep it naked because I'm only using it for a little bit. I'm probably not even going to cover it with vinyl. I might just cover this with stickers. But because I took the plastic off of it, I can actually put it into my Rotorfaden and I can start setting up the rest of this as well. And then the only thing I'll have to change out when the new product comes is this. And I think it will make the change more seamless. So that is the answer. That's what I'm going with. That is my share of the 4 planners that I bought to use for my work planner for 2026 for the first little bit of the year, and my thoughts on all of them, what I liked, what I didn't like, my decision on what I'm going to be moving into the new year with. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them down below and I will definitely get back with you. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future videos, and don't forget to just scribble.